Okay. Ah, okay, he's made it this far now, huh? Ooh. There you go, there you go. Yes, I like that. Really authentic. Yeah, I saw these a couple of episodes ago, huh? Oh, this theme, man, iconic, classic. That's great. The shot itself. Killua, man, it's been a few episodes at this point. Oh. It's not an instant thing, is it? I like that. Look at that. It takes a bit of time. I like that. Ooh, beautiful. It takes just long enough for it to feel a bit more grounded, given the almost OP nature of this ability in the first place, right? Oh my god, he's in the open now. That one felt a bit quicker, I suppose. Oh. It's quite the trek, man. Into the unknown he goes now. He's had a few things to say about the unknown. Oh my god, look at that open space. He'll run into something at some point, surely. Ooh. Ooh. Whoa. Wow. Does he use the same type of concept? Ooh. Let's discuss it later. Let's kind of dial in here. That's one of the new faces I saw in that little group shot of them. I feel it, man. I feel that tension. It's such an open space as well that just builds on that dread. He's gonna have to clean that up, right? The whole point is to make it seem like nothing ever happened. Oh, look at this. Bit of a slip up, maybe. He just left it there. Oh my god. That is so terrifying. It's just a staircase. Who's coming? Who's coming? Whoa. Whoa. Ah. Whoa. So that's gotta be... This is it? There's a reality check I spoke of some time ago. Episode 85. Yeah. That's Shadowpoof, right? Yeah, it's gotta be. Right. Ugh. Whoa, look at this. The strain, the detail. They're just children, eh? Knov sensei. Perhaps he can have a bit more sympathy or respect for Killua now. Like, yeah, he really wants to establish the strength of that name. Man, Morel just keeps getting into fight after fight. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, Knov senseis have a bit of a run-in. Delivery? Oh boy, oh boy. This is for him, isn't it? FILMBuFF, was it? That aura made Knov sensei just freeze in his... Marcos, right? In his steps. Alright, his student now. Yeah. The god, eh? Look at this. The god of Area D. Oh god. Okay, Palm. Tinkerbell. There's our girl. And I'll just come to you? Ugh. Wow, that's a tall one. And? Yeah. Brother, she's a foot taller than you. Goes for the tallest of the bunch immediately, right? Knowing that he's got this authority over her. Look at that. It's kind of sad, isn't it? That they feel relief. You know, that's just... Their living situation must be so terrible that... Ah, okay. So it has to do with their ability, isn't it? Okay, I think I speculated this, right? Easier said than done, getting that close to them. Forearms and wrists covered up. It's a similar sentiment to her sensei, Knov. Oh my god, look at this. This is the most disheveled I've seen Knov sensei look. Someone so composed and just put together. And so sure of everything around him. Look at this. The Palm's in there now. Oh my god. Yeah. You're experiencing a state of panic. Whoa. Yeah. 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 They felt it. Slight difference though. He saw Shalapoof's aura. But again, they're probably the same. Actually, hold up. It's the same score that played in episode 85. Oh. Yeah. He cares about her, okay. He just realized she's left in there too now. Oh. I just got chills, man. That is an incredible performance. It's really jarring to see someone like him just crumble in that manner, but so realistic as well. Maybe he'll like the initiative. Okay, Palm. Don't be so sure now, Leo. Yeah, you might come to regret those words. He sure is. The IOU dispenser. It's exciting as a hunter, as a professional hunter, isn't it? The challenges, the unknown challenges. Yeah, he had quite a bit to say to Killua as well. It might enhance his ability, perhaps.
こいつらのセカンドアルバムが超クールでよ。聞き終わるといい小説を読んだ後みてえな心地いい浮遊感が残るんだ。知ってるよ。何がいいって演奏時間がちょうど60分。
Right. He's got the 1 hour, right? Oh boy. Okay.
名盤だ。悔しいがどうかな。
They have something in common. Whose ability? Who owes him something? Let's see. Let's see, man. He's been going toe to toe non-stop. Okay, episode 106. I mean, you know, I've got to be honest. I think that's one of the better episodes of this season so far. Sorry, not season, this arc so far. Now, you know, that might be subjective, of course. But, you know, I certainly thought that's really one of the most captivating of the arc. As of this point, again, you know, being in Knov Sensei's headspace specifically really kind of added to that. You know, I loved being in his headspace once again. And, you know, the thing is, I would love that approach for many of these other characters. You know, why not Shoot? Why not Knuckle? You know, why not more of Palm? Right? Getting their insights, their internal monologue on the whole situation, right? Because, listen, as I've seen in this episode, through a staggering example, they're in the middle of something just incredibly dangerous, and that just feels like an understatement, right? It's the unknown. It truly is the unknown, and Knov Sensei kind of had to eat his words. Listen, you know, before I go any further, I get no pleasure out of this. I don't, because the things he experienced in this episode, they're terrifying. They're horrible, right? I got no pleasure from that. But, you know, I was reminded of how he approached, and listen, it wasn't just Knov. Actually, Knov was trying to be a bit more, I don't know, careful about the approach with Killua back in episode 85. But he certainly had some choice words for Killua as well, right? You know, at one point he said, you know, go easy. He's speaking to Morel, asking him to go easy. They're just children, right? At one point, you know, they end up dismissing Killua. You know, they've got it under control now. He can go to bed, something along those lines, right? I knew, I felt then and there that, okay, you know, they might be experienced, right? And they are. These are hand-selected by Netero, by the chairman himself. But they did not see, they did not face and experience the things that young dude, that young child, even though he's not a normal child, a child nonetheless, experienced the night before, right? In coming face to face with someone like Neferpito and her insane aura, her malicious aura, right? Now, granted, Knov Sensei actually came across FILMBuFF's aura, right? And listen, he wasn't even that close to it. He's close enough to, you know, feel it, to gauge it, to have it, you know, to have it affect him in that manner, to have him just completely crumble on the spot, right? It's a mental breakdown, psychological breakdown. Right? It's a staggering one at that, a monumental one at that, to see a character of this, I don't know, experience, right? Just absolutely crumble. And not just crumble, he's just so afraid at the thought of ever having to go back in there. He's afraid, and he's just hoping that his student Palm, who he does care about, he does care about her. I saw here that, you know, all of a sudden, you know, that image of Palm just flashes in his mind, right? That smiling face of hers and how much she looks up to him. You know, that's his student. He does care about it. And he realized, oh my God, she's in the middle of that now, right? So for that reason, you know, he reiterates once again, please, Palm, please just don't do anything out of character. You know, foolish, I believe he called it. Because again, you know, I suppose she's got a tendency to kind of sometimes have an outburst, perhaps. And, you know, she does end up using her ability. But, you know, speaking of out of character, this is one of the most out of character things I've seen in all of Hunter x Hunter up until this point, right? I mean, listen, you know, I'm not going to say it's a fall from grace, but it's like I said, it's jarring to see someone that experienced just behave in that manner, right? But again, it kind of goes back to my point. You know, they did not know the unknown that Killua experienced. listen, kind of going back to that point about, me not getting pleasure from this, me not being happy about this, because again, I care about Knov. I do, as a character, I like him. So, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna take sides here, but, it's not something that's shocking. The shocking aspect of it is just how much it affected him. But, the reality check aspect of it is not shocking. I think Morel is also going to have that reality check. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to, react in a similar manner or similar fashion. But indeed, I do believe that Morel Sensei is also going to have his moment, right? His reality check that is going to allow him to, kind of understand that he might have been a little bit harsh on Killua, right? Now, listen, kind of looking back at it and looking at how Morel is, I think you can kind of, even argue that, perhaps he is trying to kind of, push Killua a bit. He wasn't completely dismissing him as, oh, okay, you're a complete loser, even though, he said something really specific, didn't he? You're lower than a loser, right? Something along those lines. Imagine him seeing Morel retreating in that manner, right? There's that, oh my God, there's a moment as he retreats from the castle, right? And he's just so relieved that he's safe now, that he's far enough now that, they can't get to him, right? Or that he doesn't have to experience and sense that aura anymore, right? I think, you have to give Knov Sensei a lot of credit here. This man actually actively delayed his mental breakdown, right? He remained professional, right? As professional as he could, and he finished the job. And then once he got to safety, once they, finally kind of, really truly hit him again, that's the moment you see the breakdown. And my God, the animation here, the close-up detail of the strain in his face once again, right? I saw two really incredible shots inside by the staircase, right? And, speaking of the staircase, I felt that one of the most terrifying shots of the entire episode is just that shot of the staircase, right? Almost kind of like this liminal space, but just knowing the things that are upstairs, right? And Knov is attempting to go up those stairs, and it's just this massive staircase at that, right? There's just nowhere to hide. And that really played a part in the actual sneaking mission itself, didn't it? Right? I felt so on edge. And the thing is, me as the audience member, I have some of this information, right? They made it clear that, they're not trusting any of these other Chimera ants as guards. So I know there's not going to be too many of them around, even though that one grunt who I saw in the group shot in the last episode, I believe, just shows up, right? And even that felt so realistic, right? Everything's just going smoothly, right? As smooth as it can, I suppose. And, just randomly that happens, right? That's how things can change in an instant. But, again, Knov Sensei used a new ability. I thought it was really quite interesting that the name of the ability or one part of the name actually had the term scream in it, right? Given the fact that his really specific ability makes it so, they're not able to scream, right? He decapitates them, perhaps kind of utilizing the same, aspect of his other ability, hide and seek, right? The whole, pocket dimension aspect of it. Now, again, if you kind of look at it from another perspective, kind of combining that with other abilities, yeah, there's a lot of applications for it, a lot of really, really effective applications for it. Now, listen, I'm not sure if I'll be seeing that ability at play again, because at this point, I'm not really sure if Knov Sensei is going to be actively a part of this. Is he going to be there? Because it's meant to be, well, I mean, okay, I was about to say, it's meant to be him and Morel Sensei going up against FILMBuFF, but, that changed a few episodes ago as well, right? But, even beyond that, is he going to be able to recover from this? He took quite the hit here, right? Psychologically, he took quite the hit. How exactly is he going to deal with this PTSD at this point, right? Can he deal with it? Can he actually effectively deal with it and get back into the game, right? Is it actually even a good idea to have him go back into the game, given his reaction to coming across that aura, right? Is it going to kind of, again, trigger him, Now, the distinction there being that this is FILMBuFF's aura, or N, at this point, because of course, Neferpito is busy, putting the king's arm back together, right? The surgery. So yeah, and of course, different colors. I know exactly, the look of Neferpito's aura, right? I've seen it on a few occasions now, and it's red. So this has to be FILMBuFF's, right? Because Mantutu Yupi is more of like a guard at the gate, at the throne room's gate, at this point at least. So it all just kind of adds up. It's got to be FILMBuFF's. But that being said, there is a possibility that
FILMBuFF's aura, or the intent, the malicious intent in that aura, or misfortune, as Knov Sensei put it could be even more terrifying at this point than Neferpito's at that point, back in episode 85, as Gon and Killua come face to face with it, or her. Because, aura can be affected, or Nen is affected by emotional states, right? And FILMBuFF is, he's in a really interesting position at the moment, right? Given the whole arm situation, given the whole, this little girl is having quite an effect on our king, right? And he does not like it. He doesn't. So, his state of mind is altered as well, right? Given all of that situation. And, maybe it's a bit of a hint, a bit of foreshadowing as well, given Knov Sensei's reaction to it. The type of aura, the type of malicious intent, the type of, mindset that someone like FILMBuFF does have, right? In a sense, it's kind of exciting. I know it sounds kind of strange to say that, but it is exciting as well, given this man, this experienced professional hunter's reaction and breakdown to it, right? Listen, man, this is someone who's been there, right? Who's been in the trenches, who's done it all, hand-selected. Like I said before, hand-selected by the chairman. Yet this is his reaction. It's monumental. It's insane. It really is, right? Completely out of character. And this whole thing, it just raises the stakes, doesn't it? Once again. Kind of going back to that whole aspect of me not taking pleasure in this, I think, it's really clever how Togashi actually staged all of that, episode 85, right? Because, us, the audience, is on Killua's side from the beginning, right? That's our boy, right? So, of course, us as the audience is going to get defensive on his behalf, right? Because these two new characters, they come in and they start lecturing him. But, even then, I give them enough respect because they're hand selected by the chairman, right? They're accompanying the chairman, right? So I knew, of course, they're up, they're up for the challenge, that they're more than, capable of, assisting the chairman and kind of assisting the mission and all of that. But, as fans, as supporters, as people who know Killua, who've been on a journey with Killua up until that point, of course, it's okay for us to get defensive on his behalf. And at that point, us, the audience, knew that Killua has experienced something that has just kind of been born into the world really quite recently, this unknown entity, this threat that even the likes of, the chairman perhaps, and, certainly these experienced hunters such as Morel and Knov Sensei have not experienced yet, right? So, in their case, it's just essentially a case of, they maybe should have been a little bit more open-minded in terms of, these members of the hunter community, yes, they might be amateurs, Killua and Gon, and of course the late Kite before them, or alongside them at that point. And again, speaking of Kite, remember Kite's reaction to Neferpito's aura, right? He knew it's over. He knew it's game over. They have to get out. Gon and Killua simply have to get out of here, right? So yeah, that's quite a telling reaction right from the beginning. But they actually saw something. They experienced the unknown before them, right? The unknown being, of course, the Chimera ants, and then of course beyond that, the royal guards of the Chimera ants. But of course, at that point, it's just the one, Neferpito. But yeah, they got an up close and personal introduction to Neferpito at that, right? Blasted by her malicious intent. That kind of reminds me, or that kind of makes me think of Knov Sensei's approach, right? The sneaking mission itself. Now, I kind of thought of it, during the episode itself, during the mission itself. There's got to be two possibilities here, right? Perhaps it's a state of zetsu, or he's employing in, right? It's got to be one or the other. Now I'm leaning towards in, right? Because you see that he uses his hatsu, he does establish new, portals, and again, to give him credit, he does follow through. He gets in those portals, right? So I'm thinking it's in rather than zetsu, and to me that makes a lot of sense that he is employing in, right? Given the nature of the mission, right? The sneaking mission aspect of it, and laying traps and all of that. In just makes a lot of sense in this case, doesn't it? Especially in terms of the things I saw on display, right? In terms of him using his hatsu as well, right? Or the need to use his hatsu at a moment's notice. And even though he is so much more impressed with Gon and Killua's resolve, and even though he is regretting his approach with Killua back in episode 85, there is an element of, I don't know, knowing more kind of having a bigger impact on Knov, right? They've kind of discussed this in the anime before, even recently through some of those Chimera ants. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. Gon and Killua, impressive kids, 1 in a billion, all of that. It's still true, but they still have a lot to experience, right? They still didn't really quite know how to gauge that aura that they felt, that they are blasted by, right, in Neferpito's presence. I think, there is a case to be made here that, given their inexperience, that actually helped them in that case, I think, right? Because they didn't really truly know how to gauge it. They understood that this is malicious aura, right? And they've certainly experienced malicious aura. You go back to, that hall of Heaven's Arena, Hisoka blasting them, but again, controlled blast, I suppose, right? Because Hisoka doesn't want to injure them forever or anything, but he wants to keep them out of that level at that point, right? So they experience that for sure. But Knov Sensei, on the other hand, has a lot of experience. So he really truly knows how to gauge that aura, right? And everything that it entails. So he's able to really properly, rank it in terms of how formidable it truly is, just how dangerous it truly is, right? He's been there, he's done that. So he knows. And it just did a number on him, and that feels like an understatement, doesn't it? Listen, I feel for the man. I do. This is the most disheveled I've seen him up until this point. Just the sight of him not having shoes, the sight of him kind of, clawing his feet into the dirt, clawing his hands into the dirt, right? Hands in his face. And that voice acting performance is an all-timer in this anime. It truly is. Roy Mustang's voice actor, to listen to him in such a desperate state, it's something else, isn't it? Yeah, it's a reminder. It really truly is a reminder of the mismatch at play here, right? The task at hand here, the royal guards, let alone the king himself, King Meruem. I think, this episode really truly sold all of that, the anxiety, the terror, the fear, right? Like I said, my hands, they're getting sweaty at one point. I really just loved the intimate nature of it, being in his headspace, right? And for that reason, I really hope I kind of get a bit of a bit of a similar approach for some of these other characters as well. And listen, I'm going to give Knov Sensei a lot of credit as well, even though it is quite the reality check for him. He did his job. Right? It remains to be seen if he'll actually take any more part, in the upcoming, encounters. But he did his job. He did. And listen, just the nature of it, him being by himself, infiltrating, just, left to his thoughts, that any second now, any split moment, it could be over. He could have to retreat. He could be caught, right? He could die on the spot, or, he could be captured. And to him, that is just infinitely worse than dying, right? He's not afraid of death, but he is afraid of being caught, especially by, the person who is emitting that aura, and just how much him being caught could affect the rest of the mission and the rest of the group, right? So he even in that state of panic, right? State of panic. Yeah, it's again, choice words for Killua back in episode 85. He still managed to do his job, right? For the most part, at least. And this does kind of bring me back to a point I was making a little bit earlier, right? That he actually managed to, remain as professional as possible, and he actively delayed his mental breakdown, right? until he got to a safe space. And isn't that so authentic and realistic, right? Because, a lot of us can kind of relate, maybe not to such an extreme case, but, that sense of, okay, I'm in a safe space now. I can finally kind of, unload. I can finally kind of address the thing I just experienced, right? And it all just kind of comes out, right? The brunt of it. You really truly begin to feel the brunt of it once you're in a safe space away from the thing that you just experienced. And then at that point, you begin to really think about it. It begins to consume you. It lingers. You get the feeling in the ears, right? They begin to go warm, right? They become red because you're thinking about it. It could be an embarrassing situation. It could be a regrettable situation, anything, right? But once you retreat and you find yourself in a secluded, again, safe position, then it really begins to really haunt you, doesn't it? So I thought, the depiction of this breakdown, monumental breakdown at that, is really quite grounded as well, isn't it? In many cases, I'd say, or many aspects rather. And now, of course, his student is on the inside, deep within the complex itself. And yeah, now he's just really hoping that she'll be fine. At one point he said something like, I'm begging you, don't do something foolish, right? And that's just, it's not meant to be something that's selfish, right? He's just hoping that she doesn't need help, right? Because he voiced it at that point. I cannot come back in there. I cannot go back in there. I cannot face that aura once again, or the thing that is, exuding that aura. That's how much it's affected him at this point. And, I fear for Knov and his mental state. And again, his inclusion in the rest of this encounter, and how effective he truly can be. Listen, he's done the big job, right? Establishing the portals. From this point on, it's just, I don't know, it's a toss up if he is going to be effective in any situation beyond this point. But, kind of going back to him thinking to Gon and Killua and just how they're able to, come back and have the resolve to come back and face that tremendous, malicious intent again, after, again, catching it head on, feeling it head on, experiencing it head on. What exactly does this say about Gon, right? That, his first, listen, before I go any further, again, the whole aspect of, inexperience playing a part as well certainly comes into this, that they don't truly know how to gauge this, even though they understand this is terrifying, right? But Gon, again, Gon's first reaction is, okay, my friend just got hurt, right? He sees Kite's arm and he sees that Kite's in trouble. And again, you get that really specific reaction out of Gon. Right? That's just Gon. That's how he is. Killua, on the other hand, he's quite lucid. And, again, now, more so than ever, of course, us audience knows that, Killua is really impressive in that moment to have, his head on straight, right? He didn't just flee, right? That Illumi aspect didn't kick in. I mean, it kicked in, but he's still there, lucid enough to make sure to knock Gon out and grab him and then flee, right? He made that choice, actively made those choices, right? So even more credit has to go to Killua, doesn't it? Right? That, in terms of how he handled that situation, it is so impressive, the things he did on that night. And, as I am on the topic, that really specific score, right? It's been utilized once again, again, it's clearly by design here to use it as Knov Sensei also retreats, right? That piece of music, it really kind of underlines these moments, soul-crushing moments, spirit-crushing moments, doesn't it? I've seen it twice now. But yeah, kind of going back to that point about Gon and his reaction to that, malicious aura. Yeah, his rage overcame the fear of, being in person, right? Being that close to that malicious aura, right? Rage is something that is going to be at play, isn't it? From Gon's perspective. But kind of going back to Palm, I mean, the whole plan is to kind of get to see the royal guards and the king, right? Again, it appears to be crucial to her ability. And I believe I was on the right track in terms of the speculation about that. It just makes a lot of sense, in terms of kind of grounding the ability, right? It's kind of similar to Knov Sensei's ability in a sense, Yes, he can open up these portals, but you've got to put in the work, the legwork to get in there first, right? And sometimes getting in there can have this kind of effect. Sooner or later, right, if she is successful, she is going to come across, that same aura, right? Maybe even other auras, right? Neferpito's aura or Montotuyupi's aura, the king's aura, right? How exactly is she going to react to that? Is she going to be able to, stay or steer clear of it, but at the same time get a look at them, right? Is that even a possibility, right? I'm not sure if that's a possibility if Neferpito's N kicks in again, right? In terms of the grounded covers. And I'm guessing she's going to have to sneak as well to get a look at them. She's not going to get an audience with any of them, right? Openly at least, or officially at least. You see that, BZF is, he's certainly making sure that this is out of sight, right? Out of sight, out of mind, that this is his own thing on the side, a bit of sex trafficking and all of that. If things can get dark enough, you've got a bit of sex trafficking at play here. You've got a bit of, psychological breakdown at play here. But yeah, if I'm being honest, I do fear for Palm at this point, right? And she understands. She said, the most important thing is that she offs herself. She kills herself if she is captured, right? Now, the thing is, there is a high likelihood that she could possibly get captured, but I don't think she'll have the chance to kill herself before, she's just, captured and restrained. I have concern. I do have a lot of concern for Palm being, inside of the complex at this point. And so does Knov Sensei, right? He's got a lot of concern as well. But yeah, let's see how that plays out. And, finally, there's a setup. Morel kind of continues his fights. This man can just go all day, essentially, right? But, maybe it might catch up to him a bit. Maybe he's not at his best anymore after having those encounters with Chitu. But yeah, now it's Liol, right? Who's about to get a rental from someone else as well. And of course, this has to be someone that owes him something. That's the whole concept of it. Right? They explained it the last episode or a few episodes ago at this point, the IOU dispenser and how the whole thing actually functions, right? Him actually giving someone a favor and them owing him a favor in return, right? And that goes all the way back to him entering the room, right? And asking Neferpito Dono, oh, is it time to repay the favor, right? It's been there since the beginning, that aspect of it. But, it's really funny that right at the conclusion, I thought, okay, Morel's actually a little bit, worried about the, the Nen ability that he might be seeing any moment now. But actually, it's more so about him not liking that, he has to fight someone who shares his taste, right? The line of dialogue there is, I have a hard time fighting others who share my taste. So I thought that was really a really fun, aspect to this. Right. And you see that, he's really quite excited about the challenge, the prospect of this challenge, right? Going toe to toe. This is how a man fights, apparently, right? According to Morel Sensei, in this situation, at least. So he's excited about it. So yeah, it appears that is going to be the focus of the next episode. And I'm hoping maybe a few other things coming in as well, right? Kind of checking in, kind of cutting to other scenes as well, right? Because a whole episode of just that fight, I don't know if I need that, after seeing a whole episode of Morel against Chitu as well. But, if you kind of mix in a few other scenes, then I think you can kind of execute that effectively. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. I thought that's a really, really fantastic episode. It really is. It's a standout for me, given the monumental things that happened in that episode. So yeah, if you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access or timer-based full length or even full opacity, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel. The links are in the description and the pinned comment, also links to social media, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is, and I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.